What's up, motherfuckers? Look, I went over there and I was like, I wanted to see what are they fucking following Eli for? What is the big fucking deal? And I breezed on through it, skipped along and was looking at it, and you got like Jamie's corner, and you got him denying that he was the one that called my work or whatever, which he was not the official person. But did he manipulate the people into it? Hey, what's up, Anna? That you're saying did it, and you act like I didn't know all along that was who probably did that. You got to think at the time that it happened, it was when the gay ops was going on. And so the person that came to me was telling me, okay, well, two people that, you know, what's up, man? Two people that, what's up, guys? That you aren't doing anything to are going to call your work. And, yeah, I knew it was probably, Anna and J Rom. I mean, and they were probably manipulated into it. And at the time, I wasn't doing anything to them, that was a possibility. Is that truth coming out? Okay, big deal. You know, the thing is that I've been there too in that crew with Lycantheory where they're manipulating and they're crying and they're whining about this person and trying to get people to do this different shit that they do, and they try to get them to do it for them, and that way they got that thing that they got them to do to hold over their heads, and then they got that thing, you know they got deniability to that thing. Like in theory, threatened it online several times in streams. He threatened it, and then he did it, and it or they did it for him. And at the time, the gay ops was going on, and I was getting that information. Okay, well, I mean, yeah, maybe you didn't know about it. Yeah, maybe Josh did it. I don't know. This is what this woman is saying. This woman's accusing you two of fucking doing it, and I don't know that y'all two did it or didn't do it. Y'all would have that information, not me. So I mean, but even if you did, I understand where the situation was going, and why it ended up the way it ended up. I get it. You didn't do it on your own behalf. It wouldn't make sense for you to have done it, because I wasn't doing anything to you at the time. I wasn't doing shit. I was talking a bunch of shit about Locket Theory, at the time, and I wasn't even talking about you two. We weren't even fighting anymore. You know what I mean? So it really wouldn't have made sense for that to have happened at that time. Um, but I was being fed information from the gay ops, right, at the time that it happened. And I just knew that all she would really tell me was it was two people that I had never really done anything to, that him and Sarah were manipulating into doing this. And that's what I was being told. And it really is, a slimy ass thing that Like in Theory does. He manipulates people into doing shit for him. They do it or whatever, and then he has this deniability. He says, "Well, it wasn't me. I didn't do it." Versus then you want to talk shit about what Eli's done in the past. Well, when Eli did shit in the past, at least Eli was man enough to say that he was doing it in public. He didn't do this big deniability that he was doing it. He said, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and that's the type of shit he would do. There might have been once or twice he might have gone, and done that, behind the scenes, said, okay, well then dox the bitch, or I'll dox the bitch or something like that. But it was always like he was directly involved and he was going to make it public. He didn't hide behind people to do whatever he was doing. And he admits today to that being a mistake and that he would not do that again. And that's the difference between him and Lycantheory. Lycantheory acts like he had nothing to do with it, like he didn't do it at all, even though he was stating it publicly that he was going to have it done or do it. He was threatening it. He was saying, "Your work is going to be called. What about, taking care of your kids and your ability to financially take care of your kids and things like that whenever that happens?" He was saying that kind of shit. He was speaking that noise before it happened, right before it happened. So, and I was getting confirmation via Sarah, via Fire, that that conversation was happening behind the scenes at the time that it was happening. And you're over there in that crew and you're hanging out with them like everything's great. I mean, maybe he didn't actually make the call, but he definitely orchestrated the call being made. He orchestrated it. Him and Sarah orchestrated that shit. They need to just fucking come out and just give the truth. Be honest for once in their fucking lives. Say that they fucking did it because they know they fucking did it. I know they fucking did it. They can deny it until fucking hell freezes over. I don't give a fuck if they deny it, but yeah, oh, I am too. I'm grateful he doesn't have kids either. Yeah, he did. He always claimed everything publicly. Yeah, doxing and trying to, yeah, exactly. And really, truly, do you take that seriously? I don't take hired a hitman for $50 seriously. I don't think he was serious about that. I really doubt that very fucking seriously. But I mean, even if it were true, I think that is very bad. I think that he should never do that again. You know, and I think that should never be able to. I mean, Eli is more recoverable than James. At least Eli has a certain amount of honesty to him. He's either honest or he doesn't say anything about, y- you know, he doesn't say anything about the thing that he's doing or did in the past. He says, I made my mistakes. I'm not going to do that anymore. And as far as I've ever heard, I've never heard of Eli doing anything else like that again. At least he did not do that type of shit again. Uh, I don't know. There's something wrong with the dude. He's a manipulative, narcissistic prick, is what he is. He's a spoiled little manipulative, narcissistic prick. And if you watch on there, whenever I was speaking and I was talking about the things with RJ and different things like that, and that we're not going to repeat the same mistakes with RJ that we had in the past. He kept on pausing and replying to it, in a way because he didn't want people to hear what I was saying on there. He specifically did not want people to hear the words that I was saying on there. He wanted to stop that. Jesus Christ. God damn. Well, that's bad. That's bad. Hopefully you learn from that experience though. I mean, that's terrible. That is really, really bad. But I mean, if Eli did that. But I mean, hopefully Eli learned from his past mistakes like that he won't do that ever again. Yeah, he's a manipulative prick, and that's the way he is. But I mean, if that is their way of letting that truth slip out, how does Jamie have the information to give? Because he's directly involved. That's how he had the information to give to Jamie's corner, right? That's who was spilling that. Yeah, I mean, that's who was spilling that information, right? And so whenever I came up and I said, well, Jamie's corner, you're hanging out with these people that have done this, and then she's saying, well, you're hanging out with somebody who did do it on a panel, J. Rom, who supposedly did it, right? And like I said, I forgive J. Rom for that. If he did it, he did it. Oh well, it doesn't matter. You know, um, we're still where we are today. But the thing is that we both know because we both been there, and we both been in that manipulative situation where Jamie acts the way he acts, and Sarah acts. Yeah, exactly. As long as Eli knew and understood what I was talking about, that's all it. Supposedly you were the one that called my work. That's what that's what Jamie's Corner is putting in the chat. Now, I don't know if it's true or not, and I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you did or not. I don't care if you were the actual one that called. I know that uh James probably pushed it and Sarah pushed it hard, and it was probably, I mean, I've been there with them too. I know how they operate. I've been over there with the way that they operate. You know how they operate. And I can see past that. I don't give a fuck if you were the one that actually called or not. But that's what she was trying to say on there. But if it was you or it was somebody else, I figured it might be, but I was never really 100% sure, but I figured it was a possibility that you were, I mean, but that doesn't mean that it was you, you know. I figured you might know something about it, but I had let it go a long time ago. I don't. But the thing is that James and Jamie's Corner don't seem to want to let that shit go. They want to talk about, well, if you talk to what's his name who fucking did what he did, ODN, who called my work and shit, then you're dead to me. Good morning, Factual. How are you doing? But hopefully, oh, okay. Yeah, see, that's what I figured. But I mean, there's the proof right there that it actually was an occurrence that happened. That I wasn't lying about the fact that HR did have a conversation with me. It was a very short conversation, you know, um, and they weren't really uh, yeah, they weren't concerned like that. So I mean, which it ain't a big deal, but it's the idea that I know how James operates, and like you said, he probably wound you up. Being on panels 18 of the hours. They probably wound y'all up. I don't think we were beefing like that at the time. I really don't think that we were beefing at the time that they did that. I don't even think we were even talking about each other. I think we had both moved on at that point. Whenever I think maybe you were still upset at the time, but I mean, I think that was escalated by them too. I mean, if I remember right, it seemed like they escalated it. And the thing is that how does James know that you called? Because he was directly involved, but yet he wants to pretend like he wasn't. You got Coach J. Rom, you got Coach Eli that can admit to their mistakes. They can admit that they've done these things to whoever, can admit that they were wrong, can admit that they were ashamed of what they had done. I'm ashamed of the shit that I did. I can admit that I've done wrong. I can admit, we're man enough to do that versus James doesn't do that. James sits there and blames everybody else for his fuckery and his bullshit, right? That's the big difference. That's what nobody seems to get. All of us can admit, hey, we fucked up. We done these things. We've done this. We've done that. Eli can admit he's done this and done that, right? I'm just saying, but y'all want to say Eli's worse than James. That's total bullshit. You want to say I'm worse than James. Coach J. Ron, that's just not true. That's just not true. We've done shit to one another and everything else, and we can sit here, we can admit it, we can fucking get the fuck over it and say, you know what, we fucked up. Exactly. Exactly, Rom. That's exactly the way that it goes. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I got you, Factual. That's exactly how they do it. Why did they throw out that information towards you? And then they went and they bragged about it to fire, right? That they had done it. that they had gotten you good and wound up, right, to go and make that call to my work, you know, they wouldn't bragged about it to fire on their own that they had given you the information that they were getting it done, right? That's what they were doing. They bragged about it. They thought it was a good thing. They thought it was wonderful what they had done. And that was all right. So I mean, at least we got that truth out there that that actually happened. That I'm not like just making some shit up. You know, that they actually fucking did that. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the question they asked. Are you doing YouTube? I go, nope. They just went on with life. And that was the end of the subject. I mean, that's all that actually happened to it. I mean, could have some have happened to it? I guess, but it didn't. And it doesn't matter. I don't even work there anymore. You know what I mean? I don't even do that anymore. So I mean, I don't work there anymore. I don't have the time to fucking do that shit anymore. I mean, if I wanted to, I could. I got time, you spare time to do whatever the fuck I want, sometimes. Because you're either busy or you're not. It's kind of first come, first serve, and you're either busy or you're not. If I want to do little whatever the fuck, there's doctors that do TikToks and shit. I mean, it don't make a fuck. You know, and I probably could have done it there too. Because I mean, if as long as my job is done and my work is done, what the fuck do they care if I'm on a lunch break or whatever the fuck? Yeah, but it's over now. Nobody cares. There's not a reason for you to lose a wink of sleep anymore. You know what I mean? Because that shit's over with. It doesn't make a fuck. It didn't do anything. I swear to God, it didn't change a fucking day. It was crazy. She asked me that, and I said, nope. And then she said, okay. And she went right on with life. Because it was true. I wasn't doing anything wrong. So like she was asking, and the way she was asking it was, is it something that goes against whatever this or that, or am I doing this or that? No, I'm not doing any of that. So what you're asking, so nope. And then she went on with life. But he acted like he had no involvement. He acts like he's got zero involvement, which in reality, he's got a large percentage of involvement. I mean, how are you going to turn over that information and have a conversation? You could stop it right away. You could say, hey, Coach Rom, I don't think you should do that to JT. I don't think that that's right. If you do that to JT, I'm going to publicly out it, and you're going to have to deal with. I mean, there's many things he could have gone about to stop that from happening, but he didn't do that. He actually encouraged it, and then he gave you the information to do it. You know, now and then he wants to act like he had nothing to do with it. That's total fucking bullshit on his part. That's a fucking piece of shit individual who is just a fucking plain and simple low life. Yeah, that's exactly. Uh, you know, it's ridiculous for us to do any of that shit. Going real life at all and doing all that shit. It just doesn't need to be done. And pieces of trash like James to allow him to manipulate, us into different shit. These different pieces of shit that will come on here and try to, be your friend behind the scenes and act like they're your buddy. And then once you do this shit for them, or if you got caught doing that shit and it fucking blew up in your face, and you know, he would act like he didn't know you. Well, he has enough like people in between him. Obviously, he's aware of the situation. Otherwise, he wouldn't be talking about it on live stream. He wouldn't be making the threat, right? So he's sitting there. He's making the threat that this is going to happen if I continue to fucking bust his ass, right? And then it happened, Right or wrong. I mean, that's what happened. He made sure it happened. So he was directly involved. Why he makes why he's far enough out of the loop to where he tries to have deniability, and that's how he operates all the time. All the time, he would have somebody else do whatever the fuck for him, and then he would act like he didn't have nothing to do with it. And that's the type of shit we're talking about that this dude does. I mean, those are the truths and the facts of that situation. I have no animosity towards any of y'all about it. I really don't. I really don't have any towards him. But the thing is that the idea that he will not, to this day, take any responsibility for his bad behavior or his bad actions or the negative shit that he does, and he justifies every fucking bit of everything he ever does. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. It's disgusting behavior on his part that he will not take any responsibility for the shit he does. If you are able to live stream a thread of, yeah, I believe you 100%, coach. Yeah, you wouldn't lie. You wouldn't lie. You wouldn't lie. I mean, the thing is that I'm a mature grown man, and I could be like an immature baby and fucking lose my shit about it. I'm not gonna do that because it is such petty bullshit. It could have been something more. It could have had a devastating effect on some people's lives. It had zero effect on my life, and it would have had zero effect on my life. It would have never went anywhere with me. I had plenty of money set aside already, and I'm just acquiring more and more money at this point, where it's like to where I can be like fuck you money. I'm getting a little bit of fuck you money together, and it could have been so much more to somebody else, but it was never going to be anything. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't even have mattered, but it would luckily the person you did it to, it had zero effect. It couldn't have done anything to me, even if they had fired me. You know what I mean? It would have affected my life zero. At that point, I was ready to tell them "fuck you" anyway. Yeah, exactly. Coach Rob, exactly. You know how it is. I mean, you start trying to accumulate a little bit. You start trying to get. I already had like "fuck you" money in the bank, and I was ready to tell these people to go eat a dick. And I did early anyway. I told them to go, I'm out of here. I just disappeared one day. I went to work one day and I did the next. You know what I mean? I just, I just said, fuck it. I ain't going there no more. And then eventually, I got another job, at this other place, doing what I wanted to do, getting paid a lot more money than I was. You know, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. You get to do, the stuff I do now is so fulfilling, so much better than anything I had ever, done there. Could it be fulfilling sometimes? Could it be, not nearly as much. It is an amazing feeling to, be able to, know, hey, I'm participating in helping to feed this nation. I'm helping people to eat, and things like that, to have better meals and things. You know, um, that is an amazing feeling to a certain degree, but it's not nearly the degree of the gratification I get from this, from helping people in this way. This is just a much better, way to make a living. Despite the fact that it's nastier and it's the ugly, it's the blood, it's the guts, it's the, the bad things that happen to us physically, that you got to help people and fix that situation and things like that. But at the end of the day, whenever you can make that person's life better that's been injured, or they have a sickness, or they have something going on, physically, or whatever the case may be, and you can help that person, dude, that is just the best feeling in the world. Like, hey, that people will pay $1 million for their health. You know what I mean? There ain't enough money to feel good, and things like that, and not be sick and things. So whenever you can make somebody well, they will just they're like, oh, they had those certain points where, oh God, I'm in so much pain, or I'm so sick, or I'm so this, or I'm so that I would pay $1 million to feel better. I'd pay any amount of money you have, just to feel better. And then you have that power to do it, to make them feel better, to improve that life, to say that they're going to walk out of there and they can probably be okay from there. Within days they'll feel better. You know, um, Dude, there's no feeling like that in the world, that you could help somebody like that. There's just no better feeling than that. Nothing, nothing in this world can make you feel better than that. I mean, I get where other jobs are gratifying. They can make you feel good. Yeah, it is true. It can be a bureaucratic nightmare. In emergency rooms, it's not as much, though. You know what I mean, Coach Rom? It's not as bad. It's not as bad because you gotta. I mean, even at certain points, like you gotta have consent to put your hands on somebody. You know what I'm saying, Coach Rom? But in an emergency situation, not so much. You know what I mean, brother? That's kind of like the red tape bureaucratic nightmare you're talking about. It's not as bad. You know what I mean? Not quite. In that situation, um, because you end up with something called implied consent, right? Because the person can be passed out, or whenever somebody's really in a really bad situation. I'm not sure if RJ is straightened out or not. I'm not really sure, brother. He might be. He might be straightened out. I don't know. I just hope that RJ keeps those lines of communication open to people, not just those set of people, and even if he's like friends with me and Rom and Anna and whomever, then as long as he keeps his lines of communication open, he should never close your lines of communication, because you never really know who's going to do what. But there, to me, I think there's a little bit less of that red tape, brother. Whenever you're dealing with that situation than other situations, it can be a lot of red tape. Oh, okay, yeah, I get that. I get that. Maybe another avenue of that. You know what I mean? Like, what's painful is like they have like the mom will be, maybe one of the parents or whatever, and the kid, they got a pool in the backyard. Kid falls in the pool, and that situation happened not too long ago. And the kid, drowned, and they're brain dead and stuff and things, and you got to make these decisions that. hmm uh, in those emergency situations, I am enjoying the emergency side more than that other side, or these other things. But I do want to move over to do something else, and that would be like the burn center and things like that. So that's what I'm looking to try to get into, the children's burn center, actually. So you know, getting paid to help those kids out, that would be fucking awesome. Be able to work with those kids every day. You know. hmm But I mean, even that can be, hard, a very difficult job to do and to deal with. Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand that. I don't have to deal with those situations that you're giving an example to. Thank God, you know. So, or I haven't yet. But there are bad situations that I have had to, experience, but they're good situations way outweigh the bad. I mean, like there's just sometimes you can't do nothing for a person, and you know you've got to, you know uh, accept it, I guess. But you just do the best you can do with whatever situation you're presented, and but it can be difficult. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there's situations where that I haven't had to face like that yet. You know what I mean? I know what you're talking about because I've heard about those situations. I know exactly what you're talking about. But I just haven't worked in that kind of a place yet. Yeah. hmm But I get you. But you see Lycantheory doing his same old shit and his same old bullshit, and he acts like, oh well, everybody's gonna turn on Coach Eli, or Coach Eli's going to turn on everybody. And, maybe Coach Eli does flip out on me or whatever for no reason. Maybe he decides to do that. Oh, well, oh, well. I mean, if that's what he does, that's what he does. I mean, but I don't foresee him doing that. I don't think he will do that. I think that he has changed for the better. I do like Eli. Either way, even if he does, flip flop on me, I still like the guy. If he says, "Oh well, I don't," fuck JT, he's an asshole. That's okay. If Coach J Rob says, "Fuck JT, he's an asshole," I still like Coach J Rob. I still like Anna, even if Anna says, "Fuck JT," he's an asshole. I still like her. She's cool. All these people are cool despite whatever they may or may not think about me. It's okay. It's okay. I don't dislike Jamie's Corner 3.0. I like her. You know, but she is hanging out with these people that are directly involved with that situation. Whether they want to admit it or not, they're the ones who haven't admitted it. They're the ones who haven't said this is definitely wrong for me to have done. They're the ones who have not, ever, you know what if ODN said, yes, I called Jamie's Corner 3.0 work, and then he came in and he wanted to apologize to you, said, what I was doing there was absolutely wrong. Well, he's never done that. I don't want to be involved with ODN because I don't want to be involved with ODN because he isn't sorry for a fucking thing he's done. He hasn't shown that he's sorry for a fucking thing he's done. Eli has shown that he's sorry for the shit he's done, and he said he's sorry for the shit he's done, and he's admitted this shit, and he said he's sorry for the shit he done. J Rom, I have, Anna has, I mean, whoever, if they've done shit, they fucking admitted it. You know, um, and I admit it. I admit that I fucked up in the past. You know, but what about those who haven't admitted it? What about those that justify or deny that they've had anything to do with the shit that they've done? What about those people? You just buddies with them. You're cool with that. You can't say shit about anybody being cool with ODM after what he's done to you. If you're still cool with Jamie, Lycantheory, Jamie's Corner 3.0, period. The end. You can try to justify it any way you want. You can justify yourself being in his chat, hanging out with him, being his buddy, cheering him on, all you want, all day. But the reality is that you got no justification for it. I can cheer Jay Rahman. I can be as cool with him. He's apologized for the things he's done. He actually says that he's ashamed of it. I'm ashamed of the shit I've done. You know, we're ashamed of that shit. We don't repeat the same mistakes. We've admitted our faults. We've moved on. And you hang out with this guy who justifies every fucking thing he does. He could have murdered somebody in the middle of Times Square. He will come on to a live stream, say, well, the bullets were mine and the gun was mine. And yes, I pulled the trigger, but it was the bullet's decision to decide to fucking, go off and shoot the guy in the face. He would come up with something. It would be some bullshit. But anyways, I got some shit I got to do this morning. I just wanted to pop on here and say a few things, and that was about what I had to say. Y'all can continue to go after Eli. I don't see why y'all are going after Eli. What Eli has done, why you're restreaming him and shit. I hope Eli flags that motherfucker the fuck down. I really do. Hopefully he does, because that's total bullshit to fucking restream somebody and play it on your channel and do that. I mean, let me do that to James. Let me start doing that to James like that and see how that fucking works out. I think you ought to flag him off the face of the planet, Eli. Anyways, I'm out of here, guys. Peace out.